Hello everyone, my name is Cassie from Peplink team. So welcome everyone to join our PCE 4.0 training webinar session number 2. So today same as last week, we have invited our speaker and our trainer Dennis from Vital gently help us to deliver to deliver this training. So welcome everyone and thank you Dennis. Dennis, how are you today?
Hi, thank you, Cassie. Oh, I'm fine. It's early morning in Germany, so it's 10 o'clock in the morning. No, not early. So hello, good morning, good afternoon to everybody in the world.
Yeah, so now I'm in 4 p.m. So I just want to have a quick recap for the last webinar before you go start. So last time we have thanks for your delivery about 2 hours session 1, and then we already sent out the recording and the slide to the registered candidate. The candidate who want to register to our webinar. So this after today, then we will record today's webinar, and then we will also send out the slide accordingly. And last time we have a lot of questions asked during the webinar, and that's why we prepare another post called PCE Training Session 1 Q&A. So you will see over 20 questions there. Then you will see what is the answer from our panelists, and that's why you will have more ideas what is the training or what is our Peplink partners. So this link you can also refer to the email that we sent you after the event. So this is about what is happening last time. So last week we have the session 1. This week we have the session 2. Next week, after this session 1, at the end of the session 2, we will have a link that this is a mock exam. So you can, if you are confident enough, then you can try to the mock exam. And then if you got everything passed, and then you are very happy to take the challenge, so you can just go to our training portal and then to test for your ability. However, if you have already done the mini exam, then you cannot get all the questions correct. You can still wait for the next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, the Peplink team, we have Stone, our Peplink team members, to explain to the mock exam questions. If you are not familiar with the questions and then you do not know why this answer is correct or not, then you can listen to our tutor to teach you more about the background. In this case, then once you clear the questions, and then you can also take the exam freely out in the training portal. And we also got a lot of questions is asking, hey, you said that the event is free of charge for the PCE exam. So how can I make sure I do not need to pay for any dollars on that? So in the session 1, we have the slide showing that, and we also have another forum post showing that how to take the exam. So what you need to do is go to the training portal. If you do not have a Peplink ID, register a Peplink ID, and then you go to the training portal. If this is the first time for you to take the exam, then the system will not charge you anything. However, if you got a marginal fails of the exam, you can still contact marketing@peplink.com. We can give you another free attempt to have one more chance to test for the PCE. So I think I already gone through the most important administrative issues. So if you still have any questions that you do not know about, you want to know more about the procedures or things, that please leave the Q&A. You can answer in the chat, or you can make the questions in the chat or ask in the Q&A. We will answer your questions. Or in case that you are not listen to the live, you can still always email to marketing@peplink.com, and our team member will answer you shortly. So thanks for joining again. Now I will pass the time to Dennis, and then he will go through about the session 2. This will be an interesting session, right?
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah.
We had to do a lot. Thank you for inviting me, Cassie.
Yeah.
So my name is Dennis Hofheinz. I'm the technical sales engineer from Vital, the distributor from Germany. And yeah, let's see what we have to learn today. We start with the session 2 now. So I don't have to say a lot of this picture. I think anybody knows what the Peplink's mission is. On practical connectivity anytime and anywhere. Yeah. So to the SpeedFusion Cloud. What is the SpeedFusion Cloud and what do I need for that? For the SpeedFusion Cloud, of course, I need a Peplink device. You can use the SpeedFusion Cloud only with firmware 8.1 or higher, so you have to update your firmware if you can't see the SpeedFusion Cloud icon in your GUI. Nearly every Peplink router is supported, and yeah, if you want to bond, then you need more WAN connections. Then you can use every feature. Every cool feature for SpeedFusion Cloud. On this page is written 2 or more WAN connections, and on the right side is the serve Soho, so it does not match 100%. This means you can use your Soho even for SpeedFusion Cloud connection if you want to change your country or something else, or only for some tools. But let's have a look how we can do that, or what is the difference, or why do we need it? Why should we need it? With a traditional router, even if you have more lines, like here, for example, 3 lines with 20 megabits, then you have not really 60 megabits. Maybe you have, but maybe you have not. So some of our competitors often talk about bonding, and they say, yeah, we do bonding, but if you look into the details, you see they do not bond traffic. They only do a load balancing. A load balancing is on the paper maybe like a bonding. If 3 persons are using the internet and everybody is using 20 megabits, there, then you have 60 megabits at all. That's right. But if one person needs maybe 50 megabits of bandwidth with one tool, with one download or one stream, for example, then he cannot use it. So there you have a look at the details, and that's the big difference from Peplink to other routers, that we can bond the traffic. To bond the traffic, we need, for example, the SpeedFusion Cloud. With the SpeedFusion Cloud, we can do from 3 times 20 megabits to 60 megabits minus 19%. If you have, if you are still awake in the last session, then you know why we have the 19%. Have a look in session 1, then you know why. With the SpeedFusion Cloud, we can do all SpeedFusion features like bandwidth bonding. So this means we can combine multiple connections with different speeds or different kind of lines or WAN connections to bond this. Even we can do WAN smoothing and forward error correction over the SpeedFusion Cloud. We can use hot failover if we have completely different connections. Then it doesn't make sense to bond everything. Then it maybe makes more sense to do a hot failover between some different connections, some different lines. Yeah, or you can only use it as a VPN connection. So you say it's a, let's call it IPsec plus, because IPsec is an old connections like a dinosaur, but we can do it modern. We can use the power of Peplink, the magic of Peplink, and use SpeedFusion over an IPsec, so we can do it easily and much easier. So the difference between SpeedFusion and the normal IPsec we also learned in session 1. Please, I want to refer to the session 1. You can see it in the recording or on the slides. So in the SpeedFusion Cloud, as I said, we can create an unbreakable connectivity easily. So we don't need additional hardware. We only need our Peplink router. We can decide if we want to make our complete connection unbreakable or only some applications. In this example, Google or Zoom or something else, or we can decide what we want to send in the SpeedFusion Cloud and what we don't want to send in the SpeedFusion Cloud. At first, is it complicated to set up the SpeedFusion Cloud? No, it is not. If we have updated to the latest firmware or to firmware 8.1 or higher, then you have the section here, SpeedFusion Cloud. Then for the first install, you have to click on choose your cloud location. Oh, it's not in the icon here. If we set choose your cloud location, we get a pull down menu. In this pull down menu, we can choose our into our cloud location in which country we want to connect our SpeedFusion Cloud. After we have done that, we can set up, for example, some outbound policies. Outbound policies, we also learned a lot in the session 1. Here we can see something about outbound policy for using the SpeedFusion Cloud. In this example, we have set the domain netflix.com. We want to create to cloud in Seattle, I think this is. So with an enforced rule. This means everything to netflix.com will go over Seattle. Why do we need that? For example, you have a customer on a boat or on a caravan. On the boat, it's more often, and this customer is anywhere in some other countries. It's sometimes you receive the message from Netflix or from Amazon Prime Video, or this video is not supported in your country. And if I say, okay, let's go in my home country into the internet for Netflix, then I can see all my videos from my country because I have an American or a German or whatever IP to go into the internet. And that's really cool and really easy to set up. Or if you want to set up, in this example, the customer is Amazon in Japan. So everything to Amazon Japan will go over the SpeedFusion Cloud in Tokyo. And we have set up in the SpeedFusion Cloud connection WAN 1 and WAN 2. In this example, it's a priority rule. This means at first, we want to send all our traffic in the SpeedFusion Cloud to Tokyo. And if the SpeedFusion Cloud connection is not available because, I don't know, the UDP is blocked, however something happens, then it will switch to WAN 1, and if WAN 1 is not available, it will switch to WAN 2 automatically because it's a priority rule. If you want that the traffic will be switched back automatically, you have to enable terminate sessions on connection recovery. This means if the SpeedFusion tunnel goes down, we will send our traffic over WAN 1, and if the SpeedFusion tunnel goes back online, then it will be the traffic will be switched back to the SpeedFusion Cloud connection. This is not only for SpeedFusion Cloud, this is for every connection you can set up here in the outbound rule. So we can use it for VPN. We can use it for traffic steering, and we can give a bandwidth on demand for some devices. This means we have, for example, the MBX. We have a Wi-Fi here in a port. We have a VSAT connection. We have an LTE connection. We have a 5G connection, and everything of that is connected to the internet. Now, we can connect it to the SpeedFusion Cloud, and we can decide what we want to do, which of these lines we want to bond, which to go to the internet. We can decide which device does he need. For example, here he has an Apple iPhone, and he will use Skype and YouTube, and goes over Wi-Fi to the MBX. So we can create outbound rules for this device IP and or you can combine it for the services like Skype or YouTube and say, okay, YouTube should go over SpeedFusion Cloud or not. This is really cool and easy. Also, to do it for video conferencing. In the last 2 years, we had a lot of problems with COVID, so it was more important than before. We have learned that everybody needs to be connected anywhere, even if there's no connection, no real good internet connection. And if you do it in a car or really mobile, for example, we can use the Max Transit as a really cool device. The Max Transit Pro is a much better device than the old Max Transit Duo. I love the Max Transit Duo. So if we want to do a Zoom session with the Max Duo, normally we send connected to Zoom and go over the LTE lines or the WAN connection where the Max Transit is connected to. And if we connect it to the SpeedFusion Cloud, then we can use bandwidth bonding and we can use WAN smoothing, that we are always online, even if a line goes down. So in this example, we have 2 LTE connections. These LTE connections are bonded to the SpeedFusion Cloud. I don't know how good is the connection in your country. I can speak for Germany or many countries in Europe. There you have a lot of white spots. We don't have a connection with some providers, so you can drive with T-Mobile. It's quite good. And in some areas, you don't have connection with T-Mobile, though you have to switch to Vodafone. And sometimes you have no connection with Vodafone, then you have connect back to T-Mobile. And if you do this while you are connected in a Zoom meeting and you're switching your internet providers and your lines and your IPs, normally the Zoom connection will break completely. And to set it up easily, let's do a bonding with T-Mobile and Vodafone, for example. You are connected to SpeedFusion Cloud. And if Vodafone goes down, yeah, then it's down. We use the traffic, every traffic over T-Mobile, and if Vodafone comes back, we can use it. So it's a really easy, unbreakable connection without any new hardware. And the device is also really small. So, and the SpeedFusion Cloud is connected to the internet. It's an absolutely stable connection. So you have no problems. You are always online there. And yeah, then you join over the internet into your Zoom meeting, of course, without any interruption. What is the difference between SpeedFusion Cloud and Fusion Hub, or maybe our physical Peplink device? These are 3 possibilities. So we don't need to use SpeedFusion Cloud. We also can set up a Fusion Hub, or we can use a Peplink device as a VPN connection point, as an endpoint for the VPN. Why do we have 3 different possibilities? And yeah, what are the pros and the cons for that? It's really easy. Let's start with SpeedFusion Cloud, because we talked a lot over SpeedFusion Cloud now. The SpeedFusion Cloud is easy to set up. It only costs the bandwidth or the data usage you really need. You can have a look on peplink.com. You find all information, how expensive or not is SpeedFusion Cloud. And then you can buy, for example, 1 year with 1 terabyte of bandwidth. And for the most users, this is more than enough. And then you can use it really easy. And if you need more, then you can buy more on top, and that's it. And you need no additional hardware. That's really cool. You don't have to set up it in a data center or something else. And you can host it by yourself, and you can choose, you change your cloud location as well. You also can set up different cloud locations and create outbound rules for different applications. You could, for example, you can say, okay, Netflix.com has to exit in Seattle, as we have seen in the pictures before. And if I want to use Amazon Video, I want to exit in maybe in Australia. I don't know. So you can select the SpeedFusion Cloud endpoint really easy. The Fusion Hub nearly does the same. The SpeedFusion Hub is a virtual machine. You can set up it in an ESX server, in an Azure, in an Amazon Web Space, or however. And for one device, the SpeedFusion Hub Solo is for free. You only have to pay for the space on the data center where you set up your Fusion Hub. If you have enough bandwidth or hardware at home, you can set up your Fusion Hub at home, of course, and then you can easily create a connection to your home. The next difference is you can set up the Fusion Hub more granularly. That means you can set up in the Fusion Hub, for example, the latency difference or the cut-off latency from each line, and you can set up the suspension time after packet loss. You can't do that with SpeedFusion Cloud, but you can do it with Fusion Hub. So sometimes it makes sense to use a Fusion Hub. But the Fusion Hub is not a router. So the Fusion Hub is a virtual endpoint. It's not a complete routing engine. To do it, if you need more routing possibilities in the background, then you have to choose a Peplink device. With a Peplink device, you can create more rules on it. You can route your traffic to the different areas, and yeah, it's easier to do more about this. So if you need a lot of routing with your VPN traffic, go with the Peplink device. Even you can combine it. You can combine some Fusion Hub, some Peplink devices, and SpeedFusion Cloud. You can't say this solution is the right one for you. You always have to look which solution is the right one for you or for your customers. So let's leave the routing thing. Let's go up to the SD switches. Since some years, Peplink is building SD switches, and they are even better and better. At the moment, we have two lines, the RUCT series and the Enterprise series. What is the big difference? The big difference is the Enterprise series comes with integrated power sources, with redundant power sources, and not with DC power in. And the Enterprise switches normally use fans, while the RUCT switches don't use fans. So the RUCT switches are looking a little bit like the MBX from the quality, so really heavy, really rugged, fanless. So if you need it outside in a car, in a case, or in the field anywhere, then go for the RUCT device. If you want to use it in an office, then the Enterprise maybe is better for you. So even the switch is completely different. Yeah, as bigger the switch, as higher the switching capacity. Also, the operating temperature is a big difference. So a normal switch will die if you will work on -40 degrees Celsius. Yeah, so but no problem for a RUCT switch. Let's have a look on the UI. On the UI, it's really easy. You don't have to configure it over a command line, over a shell like the Cisco's. It's really easy to do it on the dashboard, and the dashboard looks like we know it from the Peplink routers. You can see the device information here, the power consumption, everything as we know it from Peplink. So really easy, and we have the real-time connecting information. So if you plug in a cable, then and it goes up the connection, it will light green, and we see that it is up. And yeah, here we can see also our external connection. We can click it to the details button, and then we see our port 1 is in the VLAN to 201. Rapid spanning tree is activated, but we have to forward it, and power over Ethernet is disabled in the moment. So it's really easy to have a first look. And if you don't do networks every day in your business, it's a lot easier than do everything on the command line. How to configure it? It's easy. To configure network settings, we can easily create a new LAN. You see there are a lot of VLANs created on this device, so it's easy to do that. We can give them a name, give the VLAN ID. We can also set this VLAN as default VLAN. That's also really cool to make it easy, and give it an IP address with a subnet mask. And yeah, we can activate inter-VLAN routing on the layer 3 switches. So really easy to do that. And if you know a Peplink router, you can create, configure the Peplink switch without an extra 3 days of teaching. Of course, Peplink SD switches also has a spanning tree protocol included, STP. Why should we activate spanning tree? Because spanning tree is cool, especially if you have more than one switch included. Then you can create some rings, and one spanning tree area will be blocked, and if a connection goes down, a cable will be plugged out or something else, then spanning tree is active and will go the other way. So spanning tree is really cool to use. But also if you use only one switch, then you have to activate spanning tree, not only with Peplink, maybe with every other device as well, because it will avoid loops, for example. Because then spanning tree protocol sees, okay, I have double connection to my route, and then it will be blocked. In the spanning tree bridge settings, you can set a lot of things. Yeah. Also, this priority is one of the old questions in the PCE tests. I don't know if it's in the actual test also included in the PCE 4.0. Maybe you have to know the STP priority. The loop protection on some other vendors, it's only included if you use a spanning tree. Peplink has its own loop protection, so you should activate it. Why do we need it? Yeah, if you have a company, for example, and there are a lot of network cables plugged out of the walls, and maybe some users say, okay, it's not enough for me, and say plug in a really dump cheap switch and plug in 2 network cables from 2 network connectors out of the wall. It could be a loop. And if you create a loop in a network, a normal network will crash. So please use the loop protection if you have the chance to do it. And of course, the loop detection, you can set it as fast as possible, or you leave the settings from default. Yeah, then the network will recover by itself after it detected the loop. It means not only you have 5 seconds downtime, it will check every 5 seconds. So if the check is gone and 1 or 2 seconds later, the loop will be created, then you have only 3 seconds lost. But you can set it faster if you need it, if you have really crazy users in your network. DHCP snooping is also a really, really important feature. It means only DHCP requests will be forwarded to trusted ports, and only that means, why do we need it? Normally, our Peplink router or our big router is our DHCP server, or we have our main DHCP server. So it means only our DHCP server should send DHCP requests or should answer DHCP requests to the client computers. What will happen If I take my BR1, activate the DHCP server, go to a company, I don't know, one company of your choice, and I will plug in my LAN connector to the network cable. I plug the network cable out of a printer and plug it in my BR1 LAN port. What will happen now? Easy. My BR1 has an active DHCP server. So every device what will boot it now or is asking for a new IP address maybe will arrive my BR1 and will receive an IP address from my BR1. And of course, my BR1 is maybe not connected to the internet or is connected to a honeypot, or I'm a hacker or I don't know what. Then I can see a lot of information from the devices, but the normal network does not work as expected. So no client computer can connect a server or something else. Though this can cause really big problems. So in this case, I have seen it in my life a lot of times. So please, if possible, activate DHCP snooping. This is a security feature. Okay, maybe we Germans are a little bit paranoid, so we do a lot of security, but it's important to do it if you want to do a secure environment. DHCP snooping has to be one of the parts. The next thing we have to talk about is QoS, quality of service. So we can create quality of service in our switches. But why do we have DSCP? Why do we have class of service, COS? What is it? And why can we choose it? And easy. If we do DSCP, it's in the header of the packets included. It means it's a layer 3 in the layer 3 header included, and there we can set up the fields for the applications or something else to clarify which applications with which priority this is. But a layer 2 device can't see that, or some protocols like the spanning tree protocol is only a layer 2 protocol, so you cannot create an DSCP information to a layer 2 protocol information. So for that we have to use the class of service COS. And on this page we can easily see or select which class of service should get which bandwidth. And for DSCP, we can set also the settings on and the DSCP settings for that. So this is really cool to do that. And as you can see, you can default class of service. And do we want to do we want to do a bandwidth limitation for that or not? Of course, this is only useful if you have fixed lines with a fixed internet connection. If you do that for an LTE connection, it won't work, because LTE has a lot of different speeds. So you have to, then for that you have to check every few seconds, how big is my bandwidth, and to check the bandwidth completely, you have to enable 100% of bandwidth, and then there's no traffic possible. So it's only really good to do that with fixed lines, but with LTE lines normally you don't need it. But maybe it's useful for a streamer, for example, to set the streaming packets in cost 0, and the other things maybe with a limited bandwidth where I can say, okay, this is enough for that. Yeah, and there I can set the DSCP classifications, I can set them into the class of service settings, so I can combine this together, and I can name that, of course, that I know what kind of DSCP field I have here. So you have to read a lot to understand that and to learn that, but once you understand it, it's a really cool feature. Next thing is the access control list, the ingress access control list. This means we can create rules from to set the VLANs and to override the DSCP things, and you can do a lot of access control in here. The next one is the port-based authentication, 802.1x. So this is really useful for secured environment. In Germany, we have it really often for the big government companies, hospitals. Nearly every company is doing a NAT in the moment on a NAC, network access control, and this is normally done with a radio server. So we can set up our radios here and create the authentication from the ports on this area. It means if I connect my notebook to a company where NAC is active, my device doesn't have the right certificates, or I don't have a username there. It depends on the authentication on the radio server, and then the port does not go online. With some solutions, the administrator will get an email with the text, for example, in the first floor, someone is hacking your internet connect or your network. Please have a look on switch port 32. Yeah, then someone is going up there and finds a wrong computer in the network or a wrong device. This is also really important to make a secure environment. Port mirroring. 1 second, maybe you can sit your thoughts, and I can drink a little piece of water. So I'm back. Sometimes I need a port mirroring. Why? Well, if I use a packet analyzer to see what happens on some ports, if I'm troubleshooting something, or I want to see what's up in my network completely, then I have to use a network analyzer. So a network administrator in a big company is doing that every day normally. And for that, you need to mirror your ports sometimes. So you can set everything on port 1 will be sent also to port 3. It's a copy, a complete copy, and then I can analyze it, the traffic, what's up there. It's like the man in the middle attack can play here. Yeah, it's easy to do that. As you can see, you say interfaces switch port, we choose switch port 1 here, and say mirror port is traffic will be copied to port 3. Yeah, because we set it up in the port mirroring section. This is really cool, and we can see it here. Important to do that. In the port settings, I can easily activate the loop protection or disable it, because sometimes I have to disable it on some servers maybe. Can set your things here with single clicks easily and with a good overview. IGMP snooping is also a security feature. I also used it the last 10 years, I think, or longer. It means we can filter multicast from our network to make our network clearer. If you have a big network with about, I don't know, 50 or 100 switches and thousands of computers, then you have a lot of noise in the network. And if your network is noisy, it will make errors or it gets slow. So we have to close our network for the things we need, and everything else, please, should be outside of our network or of our devices who don't want to hear this unuseful noise. So with IGMP snooping, we can filter the multicast, for example. Sometimes we need the multicast when we don't have to enable it. Huh? But as you see, you can map which links need the multicast streams for each others. So you can create a multicast domain. Yeah, here you can see it was set to a PVID, for example, in the default management VLAN. It's set here. Yeah, you can create a lot of things in the port settings, as we have seen pictures before. In this example, port 14 and 16 are combined to a trunk, or let's call it link aggregation. With a link aggregation, we have 1 gigabit ports here. So with 2 ports, we get bandwidth of 2 gigabits. Yeah, it's like bandwidth bonding, only it's the standard bandwidth bonding. We do it in TCP/IP. So you can connect a server with 2 network lines, or maybe another Peplink router to get a bigger downlink or uplink to my core switch to get the most powerful connection. For example, if you have an EPX the core router, and the EPX has 20 gigabit connection to the internet, yeah, then it's not useful only go with 1 gigabit downlink to our core switch, or with a 10 gigabit SFP module. Then maybe we need 2 ports or 2 10 gig SFP modules, and enable the trunk that we can use the 20 gigabit completely. So, and it's a security feature. If one line goes down, yeah, everything is fine. It will work. These are some external access settings. That means if we have to connect it to an USB modem or to an external setting, then we can use it like a router a little bit, that it gets an IP address, and that our management VLAN is accessible from outside. I don't know how often you need it. Maybe you have to read a little bit more in the forum about this feature if you really need that. But what you can need really often is it's nearly the same, only with the USB modem settings. Yeah, why do we need external access or USB modem? If you are doing the system for a company, the network systems, and any connection goes down, I don't know what, the firewall will crash, and the firewall is not in your hand, and you can access remotely over the USB modem or an external access to come on the switch, and the switch can talk to in-control and can give you any information about that. So to do a remote administration or out-of-band management, it's important that you have the external access. And you can plug in a USB modem, a supported USB modem. You can use the max adapter, for example. And then you can go online with your switch without an internet connection, or the management comes online, not the users. It's not a router, it's a switch. Of course, we talked about the radio server and the authentication of the network access control. Here in the radio server settings, we can set up our radio server, and there we can configure multiple radio server profiles because maybe we have more than one. So, but enough on the management GUI. What can we see if we do that? Or why do we? That's a normal switch until now, but now we do it SD switches. So if I connected the switches to our in control, we also can see everything in control, and that's really cool. If I have a switch like this on the port list, and we see every device, the device state, the port state, up or down, which VLAN it is, which traffic will be sent over there, and even exactly the power consumption from the power over Ethernet. And the power consumption with this PoE is really important. Some persons have underrated this or forgot the power consumption completely. I have seen a lot of smoked switches. It was in my old company, there were a lot of Cisco switches they have smoked because they plugged in 15 or 20 access points. And yeah, the access points took so much power that the switch power supply was smoked, and or the main board, and the switch died after that. So if you use PoE phones and access points and so on, have a look at the complete power consumption, and please have a little bit of spare in that, because if you have to check it, if what's the power consumption from a telephone or an access point if you boot it, or if you do a phone conference or you make some trouble on the access point, only that you can see what is the maximum I can expect from this device, and then you have to calculate the right switch with the right power consumption, or you please connect less PoE devices. Even you should switch off PoE on the ports where you don't need PoE normally. Why should you do that? Because maybe a crazy customer or a crazy user will connect the device which is used, where PoE is used, and this can make your complete calculation to mess. Huh? You have to think of a lot of things here. In this example, port 1, you see there's an IC2 icon inside here. That means on this LAN port, the switch is seeing in control. So this seems to be our uplink, where our management VLAN is in it, and I would bet on the port 1 is the router connected. We had on the management GUI on the first page of the switches, we had clicked on port 1, and now it's port 3. But port 1 is written here. Okay, it's clicked on port 1. So we can see it's our VLAN ID 1. We see the traffic here. We see everything that we have seen on the local GUI also, but this is live in control. So you can manage it remotely and see all the things remotely. This is really cool and easy. You can edit the informations, of course. You can power the switch port on and off. You can switch the VLANs, the speed, enable or disable power over Ethernet, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree here. You can do it with in control easily. You don't need to access the switch GUI. So you can do it, a lot of switches, without connected to them directly. As I said, you have to look in the power consumption. With in control, it's much easier. You can see it hourly, daily, or monthly. You can see the power consumption. So if the device is running a few weeks, have a look into there, and then you can see the peaks of this device, and then you know, okay, my access point have a peak of maybe 10 watt. then I can calculate with 10 watts for all my access points, and I'm fine. Also, I can see the VLAN usage reports in control, like you know it from the Peplink routers. You can see here the reports, upload, download, so the bandwidth consumption in the VLANs. That's also really cool to see what kind of VLANs makes the most noise or the more traffic in my network. Of course, the event log is also in control. It's really easy to find something here or to download the event log. It's a cool thing. I think I don't need to explain this a lot of things, because everybody knows what event log is. So here we see, for example, a VLAN network which is created from Stone. It's Stone's demo device. This is created in control. This is cool. Let's have an example. We have a company with 50 switches, and we need a new VLAN for captive portal or for printers or whatever. Normally, you need a really expensive software for the switches, and maybe it works or maybe not. But you have to check it normally on every switch, because Cisco, Enterasys, Extreme, all of these devices, the management softwares are really bad of the normal components. So for that, we can say, okay, we need a new VLAN. Then we set this VLAN captive 8. Please provide this to all our routers and switches. We can also say we don't want to send it to all devices and switches. We can say, okay, only where we have a special tag. We can settings for switches especially, and for routers. And if we create this, we save it, and all our switches in our group will receive this new VLAN and create this new VLAN automatically. So you can create a VLAN over 50 switches in less than 10 seconds. And this is really cool and saves a lot of work, because creating VLANs on 50 switches is a job for a monkey. But a monkey can't do it because he makes too many mistakes. So the administrator, the expensive network administrator, has to do jobs from a monkey. And so in control will help us to do these jobs for us. Yeah, as I said, the Peplink switch can monitor remotely everything, and we can turn on or off the connected device, because we can switch off PoE and then our phone goes off. This means I have my business phone in my home office, and if I stop working on 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, I can disable Power over Ethernet from my business phone, and the business phone is off, and no one will call me after I have stopped working, or my kids can't use the phone and call my business contacts maybe. So easy to do that. And with its troubleshooting and the VLAN configuration. So it's a really cool thing, and Peplink is calling that IoT enabler. So next step, go back from the wires and go to wireless. Peplink's Wi-Fi series is well known, I think. Peplink has Wi-Fi devices longer than I'm a Peplink administrator. So, but the last Wi-Fi series from Peplink, I have to say, this is really, really cool. I have it in my own house. At home, I use the Peplink AP1AX, and I'm in this moment I'm connected over Peplink AP1AX Wi-Fi. I love this device. So what can we do with Peplink combined with Peplink or PepWave access points? We can use a Peplink router as a wireless LAN controller. So this means nearly every Peplink router, every grown-up Peplink router has an access point controller included. Though in this section we will cover the balance router, VLC configurations, all over settings over IP. Yeah? This means we have the access point controller, in this example, the balance 380. Access point controller is enabled here, and we can push from the wireless controller our firmware, for example, to our access points. We have to download it one time. It's stored in the Peplink router, and if we have 2 or 50 access points, we have only one download. This saves bandwidth and makes a lot of speed. Combine it with many access points, we can create guest VLANs with guest logins. We can combine it with active captive portal and so on. So maybe let's have a look how we can do something. At first, we have to enable the access point controller. We go to AP and enable the access point controller. You can set permitted AP to any or to approved list. I always set it to approved list. You can do it with any, of course, but if you want to have a little bit more control, as I said in the beginning, the Germans are paranoid. I don't want that anyone will install another AP and I don't know something from that. I only allow it to the permitted access points, and it's also a little bit of faster if I have the serial numbers of my access points into the list here. Otherwise, the access point controller will wait on TCP and UDP port 11,753 and for TCP 443, and then they have in the field 138 in DHCP the access point controller address included there. So yeah, it's easier to do that, but if you do it, you don't have to think about it. You don't need to know the complete details. You simply have to know, if I plug in, enter here my serial number for my access point and it's connected to my Peplink router, wait a few seconds or minutes, and then you can manage your device. Creating a wireless SSID for staff here. So we choose our wireless SSID from the left menu, click on new SSID button, and then we can create the SSID. Like here. SSID settings dialog, we enter the SSID name. That is an identical a named identifier that you know what is this for. If you have a ship, or you can also, or a company, you can also say it's my staff for Peplink, and this other is guests from Peplink or something else that you know what is it for. Then you can say, what do I need for a security policy? Do I want to have VPA2 and VPA3, or only this, or only this? Of course, as higher as good, but some devices cannot use VPA3. So if I enable VPA3 and someone will access with an old device, he has a problem. So you have to choose the highest security you are able to do. We can also allow us to use VPR Enterprise, and for that we can use a separate radio server to handle the wireless networks authentication. After we have done that, we click on OK on the button, and that's it. Then we repeat it and do it, for example, with the guest SSID settings. For guest, we maybe have options for the encryption options. For the guest, maybe we say no, open with no encryption. Maybe we want to do a captive portal over that later. But the possibilities or the options you have in the security policy is open with no encryption, VPA3, VPA2 and 3, only 2 personal, or VPA2 enterprise, and VPA2 and VPA. So VPA is normally not the choice, and you can leave it open. It's the same. We can select the guest SSID with open security here. Here we created it and set the security policy to open. Here are in this, where is it? We have 3 sections at the same time. Yeah, normally I don't know what we want to do here, but we can block the private IPs, and we can set the captive portal over this SSID, that you're not that you don't need to have a key or the SSID key to connect to the Wi-Fi. It's easily to come to that device, and then the captive portal will have an overlay, and there you have to authenticate. So this is really nice to have it in a restaurant, in a hospitality, or to make it professional. The access point settings. We can set different profiles for the access points, or for the access point profiles. For example, if I use it for smart home, maybe a lot of cheap smart home devices don't accept 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. Then we can only enable 2.4 gigahertz here. The operation country is also really, really important, because it's in some countries it's not allowed to send on some frequencies. So if you do mistakes here, maybe it could be expensive for you. You can select your preferred frequency, 2.5 for longer range, or 5 gigahertz for higher throughput. You can set the bandwidth of the channels, and that's also for the performance settings. But there are a lot of meanings on the forum what you have to set here. Maybe you know it, or you have to read it. I don't want to give you my opinion, because I can understand everybody who says make it small as possible, and the others say make it as wide as possible because it's faster. It depends if you are in a rural area or if you are in an urban area. This operation country settings, by the way, also take effect of the Wi-Fi WAN settings. So if you have some access point controller is enabled, you can see it on the dashboard that you have 5 access points and online is only 1. But it's not a problem because there's no client connected. If you see it in a live production system, you had to be a little bit nervous because you have no clients and only 1 access point, you lost 4. Then we have to look. So if we go to the access point, we see in the wireless SSID that this is being managed from our access point controller. So we cannot set it. That's important, and that's good for that. We don't want to set every access point by our hand because we want to save time and don't want to be some monkeys. In the section access point controller, AP status. In this AP status, we see the managed access points, we see the serial number, we see the MAC address, the location we can write by ourselves, and if we set it here in the details, and there we have the firmware packs, and we can change the access point profiles we created a few slides before to different access points. We can select different access point profiles, and that's really cool. And even you can set here the correct firmware for the access points. You can set the firmware packs here. That's a nice thing. So the controller status is really important while setting up the access points or administrating the access points with an access point controller. You have to click every section here to know everything about that. So we can create a captive portal locally on the router. We have two possibilities. We can do captive portal on the Peplink router, or we can do captive portal within control. If we do it locally on the router, we can see the captive portal even if we don't have an internet connection. Maybe we need the captive portal to connect to an internal network and we don't want to have it with an internet connection, then it's maybe quite good. If you want to go to the internet, I would choose the captive portal from InControl. So to set the captive portal locally, we have the host name. We can set it as default, and we can customize it and type our messages like enjoy your free Wi-Fi. We can set some files in there, JPEG or GIF files. Maybe we can set the landing page, and especially in Germany or Europe, don't forget the terms and conditions, because you have to write it in there. It could be expensive if you don't have it. After that, we want to connect our clients. We have to look in our Wi-Fi settings. Then we see the guest Wi-Fi, and we see, okay, we are not connected. We don't have, we failed the ping to Google. We failed the we want to ping our gateway, we want to ping our access point, and it will fail everything. Why is it like that? Maybe we have to access our captive portal at first. So we enter google.com here, and we are redirected to the captive portal page we have set up in our Peplink router before. And there we see our text we have written, including our terms and conditions. And first, after we agreed this, then we can ping to Google, we can ping our gateway, and then everything is fine. So we have to access to accept the terms and conditions and click on agree in our captive portal, and then we are online and we can really connect it to that. If we don't do it, we are in like a waiting queue. So if we connect to the staff directly, we see we connect to internet staff, we ping to Google, we ping our access points and everything, we get an answer. So it will pass the ping because there's no captive portal in there. If you do this captive portal settings with InControl, it's much easier. You have a better graphical interface. You can see more, and you have a lot more choices how the user can be connected. On this, you have seen the user only has to click I agree and was connected. On in control, you can say, okay, I can create some users. I can create vouchers. I can set it as a you can connect with your social media account or something else. I think this is more secure and maybe much better to do that. Our German customers normally only use the captive portal from in control. As I see in the time, I'm a little bit too fast. So we had a lot of feature updates the last weeks and the last firmwares. One of them is the Wi-Fi mesh support. This is really cool with Wi-Fi mesh. So you can connect your AP1AX, for example, without a cable with your Peplink router, and the Wi-Fi will work. So we can mesh the complete Wi-Fi system, and if a cable goes down because anyone destroyed your cable with a drilling machine or something else, this device will be connected over Wi-Fi and will send your SSID and everything else, and everything is fine. And well, it's a mesh system, and it works really easy, and is to set up really easy. The Open VPN client mode is also included in the new firmware. You have to you need the Open VPN WAN license. I think it's about it's 20 euros, $20. I don't know. It's not expensive, but if you have it, you can use the Peplink router as an Open VPN client. So the Peplink router can connect to a Open VPN system. And by the way, the 20 euros or dollars Peplink wants to have for this license is not much, but OpenVPN wants to have this money, not Peplink. And yeah, you can customize the WAN connections for this connection, and of course you can use it in the outbound policies if you have an OpenVPN client mode active, that you can decide which traffic has to be sent over the OpenVPN traffic. So it's needed maybe for some companies, they don't want to switch completely to PepVPN, or you have a migration from the OpenVPN connection to SpeedFusion, for example, then maybe you need it. Behind this router, you can set up a normal SpeedFusion network, and this is connected via OpenVPN to the company, and then you can do a migration, for example, for this company to bring SpeedFusion in there. The next thing is DSCP in the firewalls. This is really cool. So we can activate the deep packet inspection, and we can filter the package with the DSCP flags in the layer 3 header. So sometimes some bad tools like viruses or something are masquerading them behind some known ports and known IPs that you, with a normal firewall rule, you can only check with the source IP, what is the source IP, what is the destination IP, what is my source port, what is my destination port, and that's it. But if a virus or something else is masquerading that, or a hacker is masquerading that, for example, you can do if you block IPsec out of my network because I don't want that my users can do IPsec to their home, I normally block the port 4500. So and now some guys maybe say, okay, then I do IPsec with port 80. Internet connection is always opened, so I don't have a problem. This will work. But if we do that with an DSCP flag, we can see how it looks like a normal HTTP connection, but it is an IPsec connection, then I can block it. So this is really cool and really easy. And I also can use it in the outbound policies based on the DSCP flag. So it's a really cool feature to do that. Many of our Peplink partners and distributors had it on their wish list, the WAN power over Ethernet. Now it's available in the Flex modules, for example, and can be activated there. So this means I can use my Peplink SDX Pro, for example, and can connect a lot of HD1 domes outside and activate them with power over Ethernet on the WAN side without additional hardware. That's really cool. That makes really sense and is nice for us. We have new WAN settings in the API interface. So the API is much more flexible and is growing more and more and more. And you have to look in the API settings or in the API. This is really nice what you can do for that remotely. You can automate a lot of things here. Then the 20X, 80X, and 80X are now able to connect with a mini flex module to a VDSL. So we have a DSL modem or module from Peplink directly. This is really nice. We don't need a cheap or dump DSL module or router in front of our Peplink. This is really nice that we have it now. Thank you, Peplink. The bigger customers with bigger networks and want to know everything what's up in my network. So we have to look in our traffic, and this is possible now with NetFlow. We have not NetFlow supported with the latest version. This is really nice, and it's implemented in SNMP. So SNMP is Simple Network Management Protocol. Please use SNMP 2 or 3 because SNMP 1 is also known as security is not my problem. But SNMP is known, and now we can collect and forward NetFlow data on our client from our clients. So this is really nice. Also, we have the Wi-Fi air monitor support. It's really nice for troubleshooting or something else. Maybe some of you know this devices from Peplink, the Peplink air monitoring system we had. It was really nice to monitor everything out of the air and to check if my Wi-Fi connection is still online. So the AP access point enhanced support means mesh support. We talked about this. It's 0.11 AC. This is really nice. So we have a redundancy here. We have the air monitoring support, and we can analyze it in control. And we have the deep packet inspection also on the devices. On many devices, we can enable a deep packet inspection, but don't forget, enabling deep packet inspection means you increase the CPU power or the CPU usage on your device. So if you have a router and this is using 95% CPU power all the time, then please don't enable DPI because it will be too much. But if you want to know more, then you can do it. The drop-in mode is now supported for all routers. So this is cool. The drop-in mode we have seen in session 1. The NTP server, unbreakable time server on this page written. This was a wish always also from me to Peplink. Now we are able to have we can buy a BR1 Mini, for example, as a cheap device, and then we have an enterprise-grade NTP server, which can set the time via GPS, via network from what was, I don't know where, with an absolute accurate time. And for this price, normally you don't get an NTP server in a professional network. This is really, really cool. In a hospital, for example, you have to know everything about the complete accurate time, because if there's a time mismatch from a few minutes, you have a big problem. If someone is dying and in another system you have documented, I have done some other stuff, then you really get into trouble. So it's really important to have the accurate time here. So have a look at it, and the local NTP server is really, really cool and easy to set up. Even we have set up some test equipment or some demo stuff with Peplink together to enable the TCP accelerator. This is cool. We can speed up our SpeedFusion traffic, because it's like an acknowledged bit spoofing. Yeah. So for satellite connections, we have normally 36,000 kilometers one-way connected. So we have a round trip time from the package with the acknowledged bit from about 1.8 or 2.5 seconds. And if we do it with TCP accelerator, it reduces this time a lot. So the latency from a satellite connection will be much faster. Of course, VPA3 security features are included there. This is really nice. And also 802.11v is supported for the Wi-Fi WAN settings. So this is also nice that we have it. This new features normally also are known questions in the tests. Yeah? We can look deeper in the traffic. We have to the graphs in the SpeedFusion WAN or in the WAN-to-WAN connections on the devices. This is really nice. The DPI reports are upgraded in control, so we can filter in the subcategories more detailed, more granularly. This is really nice. And NetFlow, we had it on the page before. This is also nice that we have it. So I think I have done it a little bit too fast, but we have done all the stuff now. Maybe some questions we can answer, or
Hey, thanks for showing through all the slide with us. Although if you receive the slide, you will discover some of the slide we did not go through in the webinar, but during the test, you can also refer when you have the test or you get a mock exam, you can go back to the slide to see. Since we still have some chance, some time, if you want to ask the question online, please feel free to do this by this chance. We will wait for 5 minutes before we end the session. If there is no questions in this 5 minutes, then maybe we will end up earlier today. But if you have questions, please feel free to ask it in the Q&A, and then Dennis can help us to reply in real-time response. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the NTP server feature, I've written a question, is available in the latest firmware. Yes, it is in 8.2.
Yeah, I saw one question from Michael is asking, will the slide be available? I would say if you have already registered to this webinar, and then you will receive the slide recording, also the mini exam. Dennis, can you please help me to return back to a couple of slides about the mini exam? So when you receive the slide, you can click on the slide, the mini mock exam. Yes. Yes. So when you receive the slide, then you click the start now, and then you will go to a mini mock. Can you please try to click, and then let's see if you can.
Shall I click?
Yeah, try. Oh, yeah, you can try. So when you click that, and then suppose maybe it's jump to another, you will go to a Google form. Later on, you will see that. So the Google form you will take the exam and then you will see immediately after the submit the answer, you will see if you can answer correctly or not. If you could answer all those correct, then you can just directly go to training.peplink.com to do the PCE 4.0. If you cannot get all those correct, our answer correct, then please go to our next Wednesday session. Our tutor Stone will share with you what is the correct answer, what is not, and why. Then you will have more confidence to get your 4.0 exam. Okay, so you will receive this recording and the follow-up email later on tomorrow or Friday, sometime like this. So yep, I saw some questions here, so I will pass the time to Dennis again.
So Rich is asking, I use WAN smoothing for live streaming over 3 connections on normal mode. If I do a Zoom call or a webinar, this stream will go over all 3 connections, no problem. But if I do the same with an RTMP stream, WAN smoothing only uses 1 connection instead of 3. Why is this? Normally you also use your all 3 connections. It depends on the hardware, or maybe you have a subtunnel in there created. I don't know, but RTMP also normally will be sent over all lines, and the WAN smoothing will be enabled there as well. So we do it every day, and it works. I don't know, maybe you have to open a ticket that you have to look in detail, or normally it shouldn't be a problem. Christian, no, the mock exam is not live here. It's next week live with Stone here. I have clicked on this, but it opened in a second window, and maybe everybody wants to see the questions on his own desk with his own mail account. So you have to do it by yourself, and Stone will talking with you about that in the next webinar next week.
Yeah, so no hurry, because you will receive the mock exam link tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. You will receive the email just like what the last recording, last webinar follow-up email. So please wait until 1 or 2 days. We will send you the link. No worry.
You will receive the email,
yes.
And then you will see, this link. And then you can click on start now, and then you can do your mock tests, and then correct. You feel free to check your knowledge.
Correct. Yep.
How about the license? If SD switch and enterprise is a package including license, I don't know what you mean, Charisma. If you receive the SD switch, and then you have all features included. There are no additional licenses, as I know from Peplink. This device is working. And a multi-cloud setup. The multi-cloud setup, I think you mean is to install multiple SpeedFusion clouds. Then you can install the next SpeedFusion cloud if you want, and then you can create outbound policies from the traffic to say, okay, traffic Netflix should go over SpeedFusion Cloud A, and traffic Amazon Prime Video should go over SpeedFusion Cloud B, for example. This is done an outbound policy, but you can create multiple SpeedFusion Cloud connections. Even you can say, okay, let's always choose the nearest SpeedFusion Cloud connection for these guys who are traveling very, very, very many times, or many miles or kilometers. Then you can let the router choose the nearest cloud connection for you. So, which roaming protocols do Peplink apps have? What do you mean with the roaming protocol? I don't know what you mean here. but I can, if you want to know the details about the different protocols and something else, I always say, please check the Peplink forum. The Peplink forum is one of the best forums you have ever seen in the network hardware. Normally, you don't get the answer like you are dumb or sorry, reboot your system or make a firmware update or something else. In the Peplink forum, everybody will help you. If someone says to you, make a firmware update or reboot your device, then it's because it will solve the issue and not for the else. And you also find a lot of documentations in the Peplink forum. So please have a look at forum.peplink.com. You find the most answers you have there. And it's also important to do it for the test. I think you cannot make the test without the forum. You can do it, but then you are absolute Peplink specialist, like Stone or maybe me. Oh, I have to scroll. Is the news on the RVS Transit Gateway Connect? Any comments on this, or any customers have started using it? I don't know it with the Amazon Transit Gateway. I have read something, but I'm only a distributor, so I'm not Peplink by myself. I can't give you an answer about that. Maybe Stone can answer the question from Sauern. Or Stone have to ask maybe as well, because there are many developers at Peplink working on this project.
Or let me give you some updates on the Amazon Transit Gateway. Actually, we have already do a lot of cooperation with Amazon Transit, Amazon team. So you can, now you go to that, just like what the question is, we go to peplink.com and then search for Amazon Transit Gateway Connect. Then you will see we have the whole page on saying that what is the transit gateway and also the installation guide. So the answer is we already okay to use we already Peplink already it's already ready on the transit gateway connections, and then you can use this service with on the collect to the official website, and then you can saw the installation guide. And we also have a press release on this. Yep. Dennis, you can go for the next question.
Yes, I'm scrolling. Can Peplink people see the GPS location information of our Peplink mobile device? No. The in-control system is your in-control system. So Peplink has no access into your group or to your GPS devices or something else. It's a management software for you. And so it's absolutely secret. And if you don't want to use GPS, in Germany, sometimes it's not allowed because of monitoring some employees or something else, then simply disconnect the GPS cable and that's it. Then GPS is not active. But Peplink cannot see it. They only can see the GPS location if you enable, for example, the remote access for Peplink. The Peplink system, yes. Peplink people, no. The same is for your data. So still scrolling. Okay. I think we don't have new questions here.
Then yes, thanks so much for Dennis helping us to holding this webinar. So yeah, let's give a big hand to him. Yeah.
I'm sorry for being too fast, but yeah.
I think we still have one more session in case you don't have questions not included, not related to the mock exam, you can still ask for some things that when you go to revision on that. So thanks very much for joining us. And then, yeah, we will see you again next Wednesday. So once again, thanks very much for Dennis helping us to be our training speaker. So if you are in Germany and then you want to have more technical support or technical things or business opportunity, you want to work out with our value-added distributor in Germany, then please contact us, and then we will forward your lead to the company. So we will off after 1 minute. Thanks so much for everyone joining. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening.
Bye-bye.